video about what are the blacksmith jobs. And if you want to know what I mean by blacksmith jobs, go watch the other video where I talk about surviving late stage capitalism by becoming a blacksmith. And here they are. These are the targeted careers that I have been following since 2013. That are the blacksmith type jobs. There's a couple down here that are kind of fun. So here we are, and we're going to go through this in this video. I'm going to tell you how I came to this conclusion so you can make your own decision. And this is very important, my friends. Once again, a reminder, all I am doing is sharing information with you, and I am expecting you to go out and test what I'm telling you. Don't take my word for it. If there's one thing you take away, make sure you do your own evaluation. Make sure you learn how to test everything, question everything, because you just don't know. When I make a statement like I did earlier about Go being one of the better languages to learn, someone said there's no Go jobs in Finland. So your situation is going to be different, right? So make sure you do those analyses on your own. So let's go back to these jobs. Security analyst, hacker, site reliability engineer, cloud native engineer, machine learning engineer. What are all these jobs and what do they do? I'm going to try really hard to briefly summarize what they are, pretending like you've never even heard of these things before. But before we do that, let's actually go to the place where I got this information. This is one of the most reliable sources in the United States. This is the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, which is a very boring organization within the American government that largely remain, in my opinion, it largely remains untouched by political changes in the industry, in at the higher levels, because people don't care. It's like this really boring statistical organization within the government. So I personally feel like it tends to be one of the least biased. Now, its problem is it's not necessarily the most up to date. If you want the most up to date information on job trends, you probably need to go out to Indeed or any number of other job searching sites and do your own search for actual job postings. Be very careful though. There are a number of resources, including that was the stupid one. They come up LinkedIn. LinkedIn comes out with one that bases jobs based on what people are posting in their LinkedIn profiles and as to where they're moving. It's totally bogus. It's a stupid source for data. And there's another one from there's like a website, I can't remember it, that caters to web developers, and they have this big huge web survey every year, and the only people who answer any questions are web developers. And then they publish this big thing saying, see, these are all the jobs you should be getting. And you have to take that into account, that nobody answers that. The people that are taking time to answer surveys are not C coders and operations engineers and hackers. It's a bunch of web devs that are, putting in their 2 cents, and then they take this big PDF and says, see, this thing objectively says that this tech and this job is better than everybody else's job. And you're like, okay, so 9 out of 10 web developers say web development is the future. Why would you do that? Question your sources, people, including from me. Question your sources. But so for me, one of the Stack Overflow, that's the one. Yeah, Stack Overflow is total trash. Thank you for reminding me. It's a disastrously bad idea. So look, I'm not going to sit here and rip on every single possible place for you to get information. I'm just going to share with you a couple of one place in particular that I find very valuable, and I have been following this since 2013 when I was trying to answer one question: what jobs are growing the fastest? Here it is. What jobs are growing the fastest? What jobs pay the most money per years of school? And 3, what jobs are attainable for somebody with minimal skills? Those are the main things that I was trying to answer for myself. So then you go to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and the interesting statistic here that I wish I had been tracking better, and I have noticed this over the years, is how these numbers change from year to year. And if I haven't been keeping track of that, but actually I have sort of. Let me show you. I've got like an outdated website. This is very outdated. Please don't go here. But if you go to rbx.gg/jobs, this is very, very outdated. I should pull this down. But you can see that I actually captured the data something like 2 or 3 years ago. But I'm trying to illustrate the point that this data is very, slowly gathered over time, but it does change. So and here are the jobs from back here that I actually provided a link to. Security analyst was a 32% growth rate with 99,000 salary, about, well, even 100, so to speak. So then you go over here. Let's go see if we can find it. Let's find the same one. Information and security analyst. Look at that. Look at how much that changed. So, so this is why I wish we had a view of how these numbers have changed year to year. That would be more interesting to me, but they do not provide that. If you wanted to capture one every year, you could look at that. So the security analyst position, the same one that I have listed as being 100,000 per year, is 120,000 per year now, and this is based on the drought. 32%. So I want to talk to you a little bit about something here. There's something called salary inflation in tech. And if you want to go watch, there's an ancient video from 2013 on code.org that you can go look up. And it talks about the growing demand for technologists and how many people, according to college entry statistics, are actually going into tech careers to fulfill those numbers. And in 2013, I really want to find it, but you'll find it on your own. It shows a tremendous drought, a tremendous lack of fulfillment for demand for tech jobs, and that was in 2013, and so now, I mean, there are layoffs in tech, but you can weather the storm. We're going to do a thing about how to weather the storm from a layoff in tech and why I think certain positions are better than others to weather that storm. That's a separate video. But so if you look at this, back in 2013, okay, so the rbx.gg site here, I did this probably 2 or 3 years ago. So this was like 2020, right? And before this, it was the security analyst position was still around 90,000 per year in something like 2013. So do the math there. When you look at it, so the same exact position according to their survey is 120,000 now. Now, if adjusting for regular inflation, that's a pretty damn huge change. The point I'm trying to make is that if you get a tech job, just like if you buy a house in the right location, even if it's a relatively bad house, you're always going to be making more money because they're either your job is either going to pay you or you're going to go get another job within 5 years and you're going to make more money. And that's a separate video about how to maintain your value. No company on planet Earth is ever going to keep up with your value as a technologist, particularly if you are self-taught and you're working on improving your skills all the time. They will never keep up. There is no tech company on planet Earth that will keep up with your pace. They will continue to give you merit raises and stuff, and they will never, ever, ever, I promise you, they will never, ever, ever keep up with your value. The only way for you to ever get that value is flip that house. That means you got to be prepared to move every 5 years. And if you're not prepared to move every 5 years, you're going to end up, making less money, which will then trickle down because you're always paid based on what you made at your last job, pretty much. And if you didn't continue to increase your income over time, then you're screwed. You can't just suddenly jump. I mean, to give you a sense of one quick story about how to give you a sense of this. Okay, so I went to work at Nike.com. I built Nike SwooshNet. I went in there. I was so happy to have the job. They paid me I think it was something like I'll tell you the numbers because it was pretty, I don't remember perfectly, but they paid me something like $31,000 to come in there in 1997, I want to say, and to redo all of their internal stuff. And then I did the entire Y2K project. I built out SwooshNet. I wrote original chat applications, some of the first chat applications in the world to cover the Olympics. I mean, I did a lot of stuff for them. And they never raised my salary. They never raised my salary. And so, I mean, they give me little piddly $1,000, things. And one of the chief architects tried to steal all my ideas and put it as his own on an email. It was just a whole mess. They would kind of try to block me from applying for Nike.com. It was a disaster. And then I was naive. I was naive. I'm helping you to know this, okay? So then we were getting overworked. We were working 90 hours a week, and I was making crap. I wasn't making anything because of the salary. And I had two young toddlers at home. I was going to pull my hair out. I couldn't do any, any. There's a point to this story, I promise. So then they got us all in a room, and they said, hey, this is Nike.com. This is a .com. If you don't like it, you need to get out. This is before the .com bomb boost, complete collapse in 2000. When everybody went crazy and everything got, and half the Nike.com team left. Half of us left. And I had to stay because I had young kids. I didn't want to put everything in jeopardy. I was the sole breadwinner because I was Mormon, blah, blah, blah. And you know what happened? I got a call from a recruiter, from a guy who left, and he said, yeah, he says, you're like one of the best on the team over there. He says, you would be a huge win. And I told the recruiter, I said, look, I can't even talk to you unless you can, I gave him a number. And I doubled my salary. I said, I can't even talk to you unless you can do, 73,000, which at the time was almost double my salary. And I'm not kidding. It was almost double my salary because I wanted to get rid of him. I learned a technique of getting rid of recruiters was to just give him some random, arbitrary, really high number. And they would go, oh, yeah, I can't do that. But this guy said, can you fly to Dallas next week? Flew to Dallas next week, interviewed, fast forward, got an $80 per diem for a full month of training in New York, got hired on with IBM, and the .com collapse, happened while I was in training. So the position they hired me for as a Java programmer for something like 75,000 a year went away. It went away, and I was on the bench. This is the story has relevance for other things too. So I'll stop there because there's another thing about how to survive layoffs, and we'll talk about that in a different video. But so the point is that I was being way underpaid. I was being so far underpaid, and I didn't have any idea. So the reason I'm having you go out here and check these numbers and to see what kind of jobs, for two reasons. One of them is what job do you want? How much money do you need? How much demand do you want? What kind of sustainability do you want? So these are the things that are going to get you that job. I am saying that. I think someplace in there you want to have a good relationship with your work peers. We should actually do a whole video on meritocracy and building relationships with the people that matter, which are the other engineers on your team and not necessarily the people who hired you, even though you owe them, a good output of work. It's just what they're paying for. So here we go. So information security analyst is the top job. I think that's still the fastest growing. So that's 32%. 120,000 per year, which is so much more. That's the median pay, by the way. Work experience related to less than 5 years, bachelor's degree. There are degrees you can get in America. WGU is the one I recommend the best because it includes a bunch of certifications with it. But that's cybersecurity career by itself. The other software developer one is still, I think, running at the same level. Let's go see where that one is. Let's look at that one. I think this is the fastest growing one per income. Where is it? Computer programmers, they're down. What's the difference between a computer programmer? We'll talk about it in a bit. The other big one here, software developers. I don't know why they lumped these together. They also, I think what they did is I think there were a lot of people who reclassified themselves as software developers who are under the web developer category because web developers are dropping. They're like 16% is better. Last time I saw this, it was 8%, if I remember right. No, 13? It's always been 13. Huh. Okay, anyway. That one looks like it is growing faster. I feel like the web developer profession is kind of glutted. Same sort of thing. Let's see what else we got. Let's just look at them really quickly. Networking, computer systems engineers. This one makes me sad because this is the operations people. It's growing very, very slowly, and it does not pay very well. But there is a lot of job satisfaction in this job, more than in software engineering, and that is a separate video. But something you need to consider when you pick one of these tech careers is job satisfaction and sustainability. And this job might not pay very much and might not have as fast a growth rate, but I guarantee you, you'll be a happier human being if you work in operations more than you work in software engineering. But that's a separate video. Information security analysts. We already looked at this one, growing ridiculously fast. This is not what you think, though. I actually pursued an OSCP in 2020. I actually started streaming. That's why I started streaming. Go back and look at my VODs. That was back when I had 400 people watching me because I was doing security and trying to break in to the industry, and I stopped because I a lot of mentors and people in the stream who were doing the job were like, yeah, 50% of the job at least is just writing reports the whole time and running, and the rest of that 50% is running, standard security software against targets and seeing, doing really kind of boring audits. So basically, you're a glorified quality assurance, assessor, and and so I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to be forensics. I want to be, finding 0 days. I want to be doing those kind of things. I want to be doing, all the hackery things. And I gave up hacking because I didn't want, if I'm going to hack, it's going to be pen testing on the side in my own time. And I'll do it, doing bug bounty, which is, still a thing. AI is going to crush bug bounties completely, in my opinion. But that is, that's why I didn't go into that particular field. Now, all of this, I'm doing my other video kind of ahead of time, so I'm going to stop talking now. If you want to see which job is the best, we should probably talk about that in a separate video. So here we go. This one's 117,000, 8% faster for data people. People are asking me all the time, day trading all the way. No way. So, people are asking me a lot, where's the AI jobs on here? And there are none. I think the closest thing to an AI job is a computer and information research scientist. I feel like this is the closest to the AI job. This is, data science, computer AI. They've had the good thing and the bad thing about BLS is that they've taken these huge swaths of like the tech industry and they've grouped them together for better or worse, right? And I think that for example, I would suggest that probably machine learning and data science are both in this category, and they are totally separate things. They're only, minimally related. 23%. This is the highest paying job. It also requires a master's degree, which absolutely does. What type of master's degree? I don't know. Whether you want to get a degree or not is a separate question, which we'll do a separate video on. The short answer is yes. You need a degree, at least in America, to get any high paying job. I hate that that's true, even though there's been affidavits from FANG companies that say, hey, you don't need a degree for us. You still do. The statistics bear that out. Specifically, I'm citing Adam Ruin's education, where he cites that at every stage of their careers, people are still making 30% more if they have a degree, a piece of paper, but they don't care where the degree comes from. And that's a separate video. We'll do a whole video on that. So that's it. That's the breakdown. These are the careers that are governing what we do on the Beginner Boost. And what do I mean by that? So skillstack.io, when I'm trying to decide, and believe me, this is very, very hard to decide. When I have to answer the question, what content should go into the Beginner Boost? That's a huge question. Should we put React in there? I've lost so many hours of my life drawing trees and stuff and little, skills trees and all kinds of skill stacks and everything, trying to figure out what is the absolute minimum that everybody needs. And when I say minimum, when I say everybody, what do I mean? When I say everybody, I mean the skills that every security analyst should have, SRE should have, which is kind of operations, cloud native engineer, DevOps. These jobs aren't listed at all there, and they are in huge demand. Infrastructure engineers, platform engineers. What skills does every single one of these professions and these careers benefit from, like directly benefit from? And, so to give you a really easy example, Vim, right? People are like, well, I can do any one of those jobs without Vim. Yeah, but every single one of those jobs you would benefit if you learned Vim. Does that mean you have to learn Vim? No. You want to use VS Code as a web developer? Fine. You want to learn VS Code as a software developer? Fine. But at some point, knowing Vim is going to benefit you. Knowing how to use the terminal is going to benefit you. I have seen machine learning experts. This is a true story. I have a really fun story about this. I have seen demonstrate this. I kid you not. I was on a presentation from a huge global multinational that you would know by name. That an advanced degree engineer was giving a presentation about how to use it was some machine learning thing. I can't remember. And they were using VS Code to do the demonstration. 600 or so people on the presentation, and they went. They were using the terminal in VS Code to write things, and while they were doing that, they had done something wrong, and they needed to change the file, and they went out of VS Code, out of their terminal. They opened up their file browser for Windows, found the file, and renamed the file rather than using the MV command. I use that example every time because that is what I am trying to prevent. That is what I'm trying to prevent. Here is this extremely brilliant engineer who had no idea how to rename a file from the command line. And they were using Git Bash or WSL, I can't remember which one it was. But they had no idea how to just even basic command line usage for that. They had to, during the demonstration, they actually had to rename in the file browser. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, it's opportunity cost. If you've only got so much time, yeah. I don't know who that, it was a person. I'm just saying person. I'm not bringing out their gender. Did I say that guy? Because I don't want to say the gender. Anyway, that was extremely embarrassing for that person, and I had a lot of thing. Should you learn everything that's here? I mean, that's up to you. As I said before, it's up to you. You're in charge of your own education. If you don't think you need to learn Vim to survive, fine. I had one of the guys that went to interview got $100,000 starting salary. The guy that interviewed him apologized to him for not knowing Vim. He's like, yeah, I've just been at VS Code all the time, and he was actually the guy that I had helped learn. He knew Vim, and he was like kicking butt. And the guy was kind of like apologetic. He's like, I've been meaning to learn Vim. Anyway, Vim Tutor takes like 20 minutes. Yeah, and Vim Tutor's got tons of problems. Yeah, but that's not. I mean, I just use Vim as an example. It's like one of the main examples. So those are the jobs that we're focused on: security analyst, site reliability engineer, cloud native, machine learning engineer, systems engineer, platform infrastructure, DevOps, software. We're not going to learn everything for all of these jobs. What we're going to learn is what I think, and that's very important. What I think are skills that are common to all of those jobs. Right? And you're like, well, why would I learn HTML to become a cloud native engineer? Because at some point you're going to need to make documentation. Believe me, I know. I get paid an ungodly amount per hour to make, to write English because nobody else wants to write the documentation. They don't know how to do Markdown. I'm not even kidding. People don't even know how to do Markdown. There's engineers that are paid ungodly amounts of money that never learn Markdown. They have no idea how to write documentation. So the person who ends up knowing how to do the documentation becomes, they become they can learn it in a second, but they still don't do it right. You know why I know? Because I'm sitting there fixing all their documentation all the time. So, things like that's why HTML and CSS and Markdown are on the list. That's why they're on the list of things that I think everybody should learn, because so many people end up getting the job and they've been putting it off to the side all that time saying, oh, I don't really need to learn that to get the job. Eventually I'll learn that, But then you gotta answer questions about why it took you so long to write your documentation because you have no idea what you're doing. It's not that hard. It's really easy. It's actually really easy. That's the whole point. So those are the things we're going to cover, and that is the end of that video. If you decide that you want to, okay, there's one other thing I should say. Why isn't Kubernetes on here? Right? People, oh, Kubernetes is everywhere. Right? Web developers, do they need Kubernetes? Yeah. Yes and no, right? Does a hacker need to know Kubernetes? Well, they would definitely benefit from it, but it's not required, right? I I think that that's one of the reasons that we're doing it that way. By the way, when I put Python and JavaScript in the boost, the reason in Python and JavaScript are in the boost is to learn how to code. Those are just the languages that are going to teach you what a for loop is, for example. They're not necessarily the only languages that you should learn. But you do need to know what a for loop is. You need to know what a function is. What's the difference between a function and a procedure? Can you spit that out in 30 seconds or less? These are the basics of coding that you do need to know. So, I would actually put like Excel and typing and all kinds of other things, here. But you don't need to become the world's best software engineer, and that's going to be another video we're going to do right now. What is the most sustainable and what is the most financially rewarding career? Blah blah blah. We'll talk about that next.